continuing reading from today. This brings us to a second dimension of reality, the vortex energies of wave dynamics. Wave dynamics are described as information in motion. Wave dynamics include quantum potential fields, parallel dimensions, and our hyperspatial connectedness. Wave dynamics also include Gaborian transforms and the Froelich frequencies that transmit the information and maintain coherence. From these fields of study emerge vortex science. If everything is spinning, and it's spinning like a vortex, then how we look at our universe, you can see in the galaxies, they all seem to be spinning. What we don't see is they're spinning like vortexes. So how we're looking at the universal world is not exactly how it's playing out. But if you understand the quantum world, you can understand the universal world, and if everything that's spinning is spinning in a vortex form, and even vortex math, that I wanted to design this free energy hydroponics unit, vortex math, vortex coiling, huge energy in that. Vortex information is transmitted from the hyperspatial dimension, from the full potential self, into the quantum potential field along single molecule strings and into holodynes. Holodynes transmit the information along the quantum resonating frequency. 0 point in vortex thinking stands for that point at which the physical world begins to manifest. Matter shows up as spinning information in the form of particles. Researchers such as David Ash go into great detail about the nature of various particles, atomic energy, and various aspects of space and time. Everything in this type of thinking is made of vortex energy spinning according to various harmonics. Information expands to maximum space and cycles back in upon itself. In vortex models, information also spins into parallel dimensions, into other worlds, as in 0 point. The universe is one consciousness flow of information. Vortex science suggests that information in motion is also energy that flows through the vortex, as in a river, from innumerable centers of subatomic particles, like springs, to the largest sphere of space, the ocean. This dynamic information field is shown as the following diagram from David Ash. Here is that diagram. You can fast forward that, and there's another article here. I don't know if you can quite read it. I'll put it up so you can get the whole. Try and read the words. But that's a really, really good diagram that shows you parallel worlds, implicate order, holodynes, microtubes, dimmers, maps, quantum potential field. It shows you the where everything comes from. It's pretty interesting if you can pause that diagram and study it. Each of us is immersed in the endless flow, and we are like fish who know only the river. Fish seldom reference clouds or wind. We are born into a limited dimensioned reality, and the unfolded dimensions of our reality are in full operation without our awareness. Like fish, we humans are formed out of the vortices of energy in matter, and we do not know how many dimensions, pea-brains, there are unfolded within our own consciousness. It's like we're discovering ourselves as we move along. We can observe, however, that much of the universe is composed of dark matter, unseen by our senses, but nevertheless exerting an influence such as gravitational pull and intergalactic frequencies from bigness. We know that spinners appear at the microscopic level, where both white holes and black holes make up the quantum foam of reality. We can also observe that quantum potential fields within our microtubules transmit both information and energy into a holographic water environment of our microtubules and form holodynes. These holodynes self-organize into complex biological systems and demonstrate consciousness and the power to cause. We can see the valence complexities along the walls of the microtubules and relate these to every biological and conscious system of every living thing. And then it shows that diagram. The chart above shows how information coming from parallel dimensions of reality, 1, filtered through one's full potential self. 2, the full potential self aligns the information so it can be properly managed and assimilated in the body and manifested through the body in this space and time. This information is transmitted from the full potential self into the quantum potential field 3. Information within the quantum potential field is referred to as the implicit order 4, and led to the conclusion that everything is made of information in motion or spinors coming from the quantum potential field. Spinors create holographic patterns. They become informed. This ordered information manifests within the quantum potential field by traveling along the molecular strings of water molecules within the microtubules. The frequencies created by the information within the water molecules form into patterns that are holographic in nature and are referred to as holodynes. 5. Holodynes form within the protective coverings of the microtubules of the body. 6. Microtubulars are long, small tubes that are intrinsically woven into fabric of every cell of the body and make up much of the neural networks of every living species. Within the microtubulars of the information is self-organized. 7. The surface of each microtubular is composed of rows of molecules called dimmer switches that can open and close, and in doing so they change their electrical valence, which like the chips within a computer. This network of dimmer switches seems to hold the holodynes in place for short-term memory, and with the assistance of little appendages that grow out of the surface of the microtubulars, called the microtubular associated protein strains, or MAP, we are able to retain long-term memory. Holodynes are quantum in nature. They run according to the certain frequencies, Frolish frequencies, that create coherence. 8. Within the body and beyond. In this manner, holodynes develop causal potency, or the power to cause things to happen, such as thoughts, feelings, and actions. Thus, holodynes within the microtubulars are correlated with dimmer molecules and establish hierarchies of learning. 9. That become part of the neural network. 10. That establishes coherence in the body. It also has been observed that spinors act as control agents in the construction of DNA, and thus RNA and every other body organ. 11. Is actually constructed according to the blueprints provided by the implicit order within the quantum potential field. Because these spinors are quantum in nature, they appear in both in and out of our physical world at one and the same time. Research shows that microtubulars are central to the cellular construction. 12, including cellular division, mitosis, growth, sensitivities, pain, hunger, etc., and brain elasticity, including all biochemistry of the body and all organ functions. 13. The flow of information is both hyperspatial into the body and from the body into hyperspace. In other words, the entire system is self-organizing and self-perpetuating. Dimmer switches adjust their valence according to the information network being supplied from both their hyperspatial connections and the feedback they receive from the senses of the body. When we receive this tapestry of information flow through the glasses of holographics, it can be seen that all body senses are made up of holographic screens, both gross grains and fine-grained screens, that are part of our holographic conscious reality. Thus, holodynes are holographic and have both particle functions and wave functions. Holodynes are literally holographic images with the power to cause and, at the same time, give off frequencies that send the information throughout the body and throughout space. In this way, a single thought can ripple not only through the body, but also through the entire space-time continuum. So every time you have a thought, that thought goes out into the universe. So pay attention to your thought because it has the potential to cause. So what? What possible difference all this information make in the challenges of daily life? What follows are some of its implications. How to overcome terrorism. I like some of the books that, not so much in this book, but he does give stories and experiences of, okay, how do we take this from, the science world and how does it relate to real world? So this kind of helps to hear stories. That's why I kind of like giving my story, because it kind of helps relate to, okay, well, but what does that really mean and what will it actually do for you? So that's why my videos are more like a diary for me. Even reading this book, I could use reading this book over again. So everything I put out there is more for me because I'm focusing on what it is I want to pay attention to. And I look at it. It's like a mirror in front of me. This is what I'm doing every day. Is it what I want to do? Am I on track with what I want? Yada, yada, yada. The Order of the River of Life. I first entered Israel during 1994 Intifada period, I don't know what that is, of the Israeli-Palestine War. The Israelis made the rules very clear. You are entering a war zone. You must obey these rules or you put your life in danger. The rules are, you must never leave your group, stay together. You must never talk to an Arab without your group being present. You must never talk to an Arab terrorist. Curfew is 11 o'clock. You must never be out after 11 at night. It is a war zone and curfew is strictly enforced. You can be shot on sight. No one, I repeat, no one is to be out after 11. As a peace commission, each one of us meekly promised to obey. By the end of the first day, I had broken all the rules. It happened quite innocently. It was my interest in the shops and the people that got me separated from my group. After all, we had been together since early in the morning, traveling in a small blue tourist bus. Having visited various sites, our little blue bus dropped us off just after 5 o'clock at the Arab side of the old city. It was interesting to walk through the narrow streets with the various shops and people milling all about. I became quite consumed in the market scene. I lagged behind a little, but I could still see my group ahead of me. They were headed in a general location. I thought the hotel must be, so all was well. Then two cars tried to pass each other on the street. There wasn't enough room for the cars and me, so I stepped through a door to let them pass. As I turned around to look where I was, I found myself in a very impressive shop. It was as large as a big department store in America and filled with the most interesting wares, such as ancient Persian rugs, huge jars, old jewelry, and everything you could imagine in an Arab shop. It just drew me in with all its magical things. Then the Arab attendant came up and said in perfect American English, "Hi, how are you?" "You speak great English," I marveled. Then his brother came up and said, "Yeah, we've got a shop in L.A." "Where did you guys learn English?" I inquired as I looked over the counter at some ancient jewelry. They looked at each other and then at me. "In prison." They both grinned. I looked at the gleam in their eyes and asked, "When were you in prison?" "I was 5, said the first brother. "When I was 6, said the second. "Are you guys terrorists?" I asked quite innocently. Their grins grew bigger and they shook their heads in the affirmative. "All our lives." So they're terrorists all their lives. They were both sort of tempting me to ask more questions, so I broke the second rule and inquired, "How do you feel about the Israeli occupation?" Both men raised their right hands, clenched their fist, and said with one voice, "We hate it." Their fists came down at the same time, and I immediately recognized their collective action as a holodyne they shared in common. So I asked a holodynamic question: "What color is that hate?" There was a design lay in beautiful tile in the center of the floor near where we were standing. They looked in the direction of it, but I could tell their eyes were not seeing it, for they were widened with amazement. "It is black and brown, and it is..." And when they both backed up, their eyes were enlarged, and they started shaking in stark fear. They jumped behind one of the counters and crunched, still shaking with fear. The entire counter was shaking. "What is it?" I asked. They were so frightened that they could not answer. I walked towards them, but could not approach them too closely for all their fear and shaking. Finally, I knelt down beside them behind the counter. It took an hour and a half to calm them to where they could describe what they saw. I got to continue on another tape.